Welcome to Beyond Bridge, the podcast where courage meets community. We shine a light on the stories, science, and support that define the breast cancer journey. From survivors and thrivers to doctors and advocates, we're here to share real conversations, expert insights, and the hope that carries us forward. Whether you're newly diagnosed, a lifelong fighter, or walking alongside someone you love, this is your space, your voice, and your story. Welcome to Bridge. Today our guest is Leonese Spann, and Leonese is a triple negative breast cancer survivor and thriver. She has been diagnosed twice, once in 2023 and then again in 2024. Welcome to Bridge, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to jump right in, and since you've had two diagnoses, share with the audience, what was your personal journey like as you were navigating breast cancer?
My personal journey began with the feeling of a mass in my right breast. I had had a previous mammogram in October of the previous year. It was May, and I went to my doctor. She ordered the mammogram. The insurance denied it. We had to keep going back and forth, and eventually I did get the mammogram, but not until September. You
said something that's kind of striking to me. The insurance company denied the mammogram?
Well, let's not say the word denied, but let's just say they kept kind of like hedging. So there are different types of mammograms, a regular mammogram, a diagnostic mammogram.
That's correct.
And then for women who have dense breast, typically you have orders for either one or two of those, and then you also get sonograms done at the appointment as well. And so my doctor wanted to order the more advanced mammogram, and the insurance was like, no, do the regular mammogram. And she was like, no, we want to do the advanced. So the going back and forth to get them to agree to do the advanced is what the process that took so long. And then in between time, I also had travel plans, and so things got pushed out until September.
That's a long time.
It is.
Long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what went through your mind as you were going through this process?
I had previously had a lot of cysts in both of my breasts, and I also had experience with with individuals who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so in all of my experience, everyone had felt a knot, a knot, something hard, and there was no pain. In my situation, there was no lump and there was pain with compression of the breast. And so I'm thinking something's gotten infected, what's going on, some inflammation, let's get in there and clean it out. That's my initial thought. But the visit to the mammogram office was so traumatic. It was so painful. I literally was crying at the mammogram office. And my appointment was at 3:00. And it was mammogram, then it was sonogram, then it was mammogram again, then it was mammogram again, then it was sonogram again. It was 6:00 by the time that I left. And this was at the time when it got dark early. All the staff was gone, and they basically just handed me a folder and said, you need to call a breast surgeon immediately. So I was like, okay, here we go.
Did they give you a recommendation for a breast surgeon?
0.
So you had to navigate that on your own?
Go find one. Yes. So I got to work. I moved.
You moved?
I moved.
Okay. So what did you do as you were going on this journey trying to find a surgeon? Mm-hmm. What did you do? Where did you begin?
My first inclination was to try and get someone who was an African-American surgeon. And you can imagine that there are things going on in your mind that are just like, you need to move. For me, it was move. We need answers. We need understanding. We need to get some things done. And the first thing you realize is that the system doesn't move that quickly. You've got to wait to be scheduled. You've got to wait to be called. Then when you're called, sometimes the conversation is real short and quick. You know, you're dropped with a bombshell, and then it's like, but we'll set this appointment out here, and you can come see me after this test takes place. And so my initial process with the breast surgeon that I had was just very not what I was looking for. And so I immediately pivoted to the breast surgeon that my sister had when she went through cancer because of our same genetics. It was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. So pivoted to her, and she immediately started doing some things that made me comfortable in terms of my advocacy of wanting to make sure that someone was seeing me and hearing me, and immediately requested a retesting of my tissue to make sure that I had been correctly diagnosed, because I had some complications with the diagnosis that, I don't know if you would call them complications, but additional characteristics called metaplastic cancer, where it travels through the blood instead of the lymph nodes. And typically that cancer is triple negative breast cancer. However, I had been told that I was HER2 positive. And so
are you saying that you got two different diagnoses?
Not yet. At the beginning, it was just a HER2 diagnosis. That was from the original breast surgeon that I then switched to the second breast surgeon. She said, I want my pathologist to put eyes on this because it's metaplastic. I had been told that I was HER2 initially. The initial diagnosis was HER2 positive. With metaplastic cancer, it's typically triple negative cancer. So the second surgeon was like adamant, we're going to retest this and it's going to be triple negative. Let's make sure before we move forward with our treatment plan. They retested it at that hospital, and they came back and said it was HER2 positive. This is the standard of care. Let's go.
Okay. So you went through this process of trying to find your own surgeon.
Yes.
You've find one, you pivot to another.
Mm-hmm.
You get two different different diagnoses, and
Yes.
then they settle on this diagnosis, the triple negative.
No. They settled on HER2, and they were the two of the same.
Okay.
The first one was HER2, the second one verified HER2.
Okay. So based upon that, what was the treatment plan?
Specifically tailored to HER2. HER2 has receptors, and so the cancer is a specific type of treatment that is targeted to that particular tumor. So that's the medication that I received, and I had issues with that. Wound up in the hospital twice with C. diff infections, and tried to get in to see my oncologist. Typically, you see the oncologist when you first start your treatment, but as time goes on, you also see their nurse practitioners throughout the process. Every time you have a treatment, every 3 weeks. I was seeing the nurse practitioners. I was having these issues with going to the hospital. I tried to call in and say, what's the deal? We need to find out what's going on. I can't go back into the hospital again. Let me get an appointment to see the doctor. I could not see the doctor. They kept trying to pivot me to the nurse practitioners. It just so happened that I was doing a second MD consultation that I really wanted before I started treatment, but because of the timing, I couldn't get it until I was in treatment. And it happened during the time that I had just come out of the hospital with my second C. diff infection, talked to this breast surgeon, and she gave me a whole slew of recommendations of what to do to move forward. The very first one was to, based upon everything I had told her about not having luck seeing my doctor, the very first one was to call into the doctor and threaten to stop chemotherapy immediately, which I did.
Okay, so part of your treatment plan, and I didn't hear this, and I want our audience to be clear because there's some words that you are saying that they may not quite understand. Okay. So you're diagnosed. Mm-hmm. You had surgery? No surgery.
Directly to chemotherapy to shrink the tumor because they were considerably large, and they were, two.
Okay. So no surgery.
No.
Directly to chemotherapy because your masses were large in your breast. Yes. And how did that work?
Initially, it worked. The first two treatments, I could feel that the mass, so to speak, was shrinking. Because I had two tumors, they had inflammation around them, so they were kind of connected but separate. And that's why I was feeling a mass and not little knots, that hard knots that people typically feel. I could visibly feel the mass shrinking. And so I was excited about that. That was a good thing. But I was also winding up in the hospital twice. After every treatment, 5 days later, I was guaranteed in the hospital with an infection. So I couldn't move forward like that.
All right. You had mentioned the word move a little while ago. Mm-hmm. Tell us what that means for you.
That means understanding your importance in the decisions of your life. That means understanding that when something needs to happen for you, the first person who has to move is you in order for anyone else to move to help you and support you. And you have to move in a way where everyone understands that you are the final answer in how you move forward. And some people will accept that and some people won't because, some people tend to believe they know more than others. But at the end of the day, nobody lives with this decision but me. So I have to make that decision. So I don't, never want to be in a position where I feel like somebody made me do something or I'm this way because somebody else made me do something. No, nobody's going to make me do anything. I'm going to do it myself. And so when I'm in that position because I put myself in the position. And whatever consequences are with it, I'm good with it because I made that decision. It's difficult to live with consequences from someone else's decision in your life. And so move for me means that I am the captain of my ship. Not that I will not have someone else try to direct my sail. And I may even ask people to come in and take over the wheel for a minute. But it will always be my ship, my decisions. When I lay my head down, I will know that I lived as I lived within the divine spirit and energy that has been put with me to live, not pushed or swayed by someone else.
So I'm hearing a couple of things as you said that. One thing that I'm hearing is that God is always in control.
That's it.
The other thing I'm also hearing is that you are in control of what happens to you in your body.
And listen,
you
that's
get
one
to
and the
make those
same.
decisions.
And understand that is one and the same. I was taught at a very young age that God was within me. So why would I look outside to find that direction, to find that guide, to find that understanding? If he is within me, if I am his child, he won't leave me wrong. And you have to believe that. You have to believe that. And when you believe that and you truly understand your power and energy and how your life is shaped, you walk with that royalty. You walk with that understanding. And it's not to mean that you won't have good days or bad days or things won't disappoint you or upset you even, but, live by your rules and you will have no regrets.
That's good stuff. That's good to hear. One of the things that I tell patients or tell survivors is that the treatment plan comes from the physician.
It does.
But you as the patient have the right and the responsibility to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. Because when you are diagnosed with cancer or any disease, it is 100% you.
Yes.
Nobody goes through that except you. Mm-hmm. Nobody's receiving chemo except you. Right. Nobody's being poked and prodded except you.
That's right.
It is 100% you. Mm-hmm. So I applaud you for saying to our audience that you have to control that. Yes. You have to navigate that in a way that's going to benefit you.
Yes. And guess where that comes from? That comes from your will and desire to live. For anyone who finds himself facing this situation, first and foremost, you have to want to live. So you find whatever that is that says that you got to be here and you're not playing with this and you're going to deal with it. You're not going to hide from it. You're not going to run from it. You're not going to act like it's not there. You're not going to pretend it is not who you are because it is a part of you. Through this journey, I've learned about it. It was a poem, and I can't remember the name of the poem, but it talked about the things that scare you and inviting the things that scare you to come and sit down with you, not to every time you see that thing that scares you, turn around and run away from it or hide it. Invite it to sit down with you, drink a cup of tea with it, get comfortable with it, and that fear becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And when you couple that with the knowledge, again, of your own personal strength and energy that you can control what happens to you, you begin to move. You begin to address things. You don't begin to shrink because you're still alive. the diagnosis is not, you're dead right now. So don't just lay there and let anybody do anything to you. I'm not saying don't do what you're suggested, but I'm saying be involved.
We're going to leave it right there. You said some powerful words. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. And one of the things I always like to say is that our private pain has a public purpose.
It does.
And you have definitely shared your pain for public purpose. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing this. This is going to mean so much for all of those that come behind us, because we have control. We can take care of this. It's not a death sentence. And life goes on, because I'm going to keep on living.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Beyond Bridge, a place of strength, support, and shared stories. If the conversation touched your heart, be sure to share it with someone walking this journey. And always remember, you are not alone. God walks with you, even in the valleys. Lean on His promises, trust His timing, and never lose hope. Until next time, may you be covered in grace, filled with courage, and surrounded by love.